Well, hello, friends. Welcome to the kitchen here at the farm. If you are unfamiliar with who I am, my name's Angela, and I am the inquisitive farm wife. I like to do all sorts of cooking and preservation. I work with my animals. I help my husband. We're field farmers. And one of his favorite soups is Zuppa Toscana. And I personally love the chicken gnocchi. Both are, our favorite Olive Garden soups. So I decided, you know what? I am going to take some foods that I have and I'm going to make this for us for this fall season and come winter. I wanted to go ahead and kind of prepare ahead and make some fast, easy meals. And the USDA Guide to Canning has a soup your way method. And that's basically what I'm doing. So I'm kind of making like a soup starter for all of the safe ingredients that you can put in your cans. And that is what I'm going to be working on over these next couple of days. So I had taken a 5-pound bag of red potatoes and I peeled them, and then you saw me use the chopper and I did like a big dice on those potatoes. And then I used an Italian sausage. I'll insert the picture. And I went ahead and fried it up. And here I noticed this isn't going to work. So I had to step back. I had to regroup, and I had to think about this. And I had decided that, one, the jars were too full. Because for the soup your way, you need to have about half full of product. And it was very obvious to me that I hadn't even put the kale in yet, and we were at the 3/4 mark. So I decided to just stop for a minute and regroup. I grabbed 7 more jars, and so instead of 7 jars, I'm going to get 14. And then looking at the jars, I realized there was some fat in the bottom of those jars. And so I did not do a very good job at all getting that extra fat off of that sausage, which, by the way, I got on sale because, we try to save where we can, right? So then I decided, okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to just mix this all together and put them in the jars and figure it out from here. So I've got my sink filling so I can rewash all of those jars, and I'm just going to mix everything in a big bowl. So I've got my chopped potatoes, my sausage, and now I'm going to add in some garlic. I know, I cheated. I bought the already peeled stuff at the store. And I don't think I said it earlier that it was actually 3 pounds of that Italian sausage that I used. And then I had a huge 1-pound bag of kale, and I wanted to blanch the kale. And the reason I did that is because there's air in there, and they suggest that you want to go ahead and blanch your kale before you actually can it. So I went ahead and I went with what was suggested to do. Then, as you can see, I've got myself a bag of white onions, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chop the entire bag up. These were strong onions. They did make me cry. They did make me flinch, but I persevered. I went ahead and I got a different size plate there for that. And so I have a smaller dice on those onions, but we're only going to use part of that because we're going to tomorrow can a different type of soup, and we'll talk about that just a little bit. So now I am just looking around for a bag because I need a new bag, and I'm not about to let all that onion skin go to waste because I'm going to go through a lot of broth and stock today, and so I'm going to have to replenish. So I try to make sure that I always am thinking about that and having that ready. So I just grab myself a spatula and I start mixing in my ingredients. So basically, Zuppa Toscana is potatoes, which of course we take the skins off when we can because of botulism. We're not about to make our family sick here. So if you make it fresh, yes, you can leave the skins on, but if you're canning, please take those skins off. And then we've got our cooked sausage and our kale. So for take two, I got myself a funnel so I could try to not make quite as big of a mess because the sausage, it really, you do need the funnel because it's smaller pieces. The potatoes you can do without, but it just makes more sense. So I am going to go with what USDA suggests, and it's like half to 3/4 full. And see, I'm still going to make a mess anyway, but you know, it's my kitchen. I do make messes. That's why I'm constantly cleaning and wiping and making sure everything's good to go. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and fill these jars up no more than 3/4 full of food because I'm not tightly packing it. It's half on a tight pack. I hope that makes sense. So now I'm going to line them up because for me, that's just an easier way to do this. And we're going to start filling the rest with liquid. So after we have divvied everything out here, and I have my 14 jars, so I've got 2 canners. I'm going to have to get a second one ready. And we're going to add the liquid, whether you want to use all broth or if you want to use water, it depends. I am going to choose to use turkey stock because that's what I have an abundance of. You can see I'm going back in there and I'm going to change what I was going to use. I'm going to save my chicken for the next recipe, and I went ahead and got out my turkey stock that we made together last year, and it has some herbs in it, so I thought it would give it just a little bit extra flavor. So we'll wipe that down and we will open these up, and then I'm just going to go ahead and fill to about the 3/4 mark because this is a concentrate. I mean, you can see just how dark and beautiful it is. And I just figured that if I had to add water, then I would because I only have so much made and I'm, trying to make it all work, make it all last and stretch it out the best I can. As you can see, I did end up having to add a little bit of water to each of the jars just to top them off. But like I said, it was more of it was a very concentrated broth that I made. And then I had also put in some canning salt. That's completely optional. I knew that we love salt, so I wanted to add that. And then next one, I like to can anything. I always use vinegar, but most definitely if you're using anything with meat in it, it's going to be very greasy and you just want to make sure that you get good seals. So I use straight up vinegar. I don't even dilute it with water, and I wipe down all my rims really, really well. And then when you go to put on your lids, it's going to kind of depend on what company you use and what their directions are. So you go through and you just do what works for each particular lid. Some of them want you to put them in hot water. Some of them you don't have to. I always like to wash them all off before I put them on just to make sure they're clean and there's no residue from the factory. And then I have a bucket of rings, and we're just going to go ahead and put those on fingertip tight. If you're not familiar with canning, then you will just go until it starts to turn. You don't, wrench it down really tightly because you need for that air that is in there to be able to release. We did go ahead and debubble when we added that salt, but still, it will inevitably need a little bit of room to do that too. And here I am grabbing my second canner, and so that's my All-American, and I'm going to start filling it. I always put a splash of vinegar in my canners because I have hard water, and here I am. You can see I'm looking for the fill line. Each canner will have directions on where you fill those. And now I'm just going to add in my jars. I happen to have exactly 14. Each canner gets 7. Check your seals. check your, do all the things you need to do, go through your checklist of canning, and I'm going to go ahead and put those in the canner, and I need to put that at 12 pounds, 11 or 12 pounds of pressure. And then I believe that I went ahead and I processed these for 90 minutes because there is meat in there. So once you come up to pressure after you have vented for your 10 minutes, then you start your processing time. But I decided I wanted to go ahead and get started on this. So I had some pre-cooked chicken, and then I threw in the rest of those onions, saving all the scraps from my celery. We're going to go ahead and chop some celery into bits with this lovely chopper. It's such a time saver. I mean, you can dice these on your own, absolutely, but it's also a great way to get out a little frustration too. So I decided that I would go ahead and dice those up. And then I have some carrots here to the side, and I had peeled those, and we're going to dice those. Okay, it was a bit more of a struggle than I thought it would be with the carrots, to be honest. I wish I would have used my higher powered one, because I had to really work to get the carrots to do the dice. But I did it because we are now making the soup that I enjoy, which is chicken gnocchi. And you are going to do the same basic process of soup your way according to the USDA, because you can cook your meats and your vegetables as long as I said that you do not fill them too full and you add in your liquid. However, the things that you did not see me put in the zuppa was the dairy, and you will not see me in my chicken gnocchi. I will not be putting in the dairy, and I also will not be putting in the gnocchi. So these are kind of more of a starter. I had some frozen spinach that needed used. I'm trying to clean out my freezer. My friend Renee over at Pike Creek Farm, she's doing this Free the Freezer challenge, and I definitely was doing that because the sausage was in the freezer for the other soup, and I had the spinach here, and so I got a couple things out of the freezer. And of course, we want to add some garlic to this, so I've got a few cloves of that. I would say about 1 clove per jar is what I ended up using. So now we're going to add some salt and pepper, whatever seasonings you want, or you can wait and add them later, because as this is a soup starter, you can actually use this for other recipes. It doesn't have to be specific just for gnocchi. But I ended up taking and mixing that all together, and I just thought it looked so pretty. And I am going to call it a night, because I know after the zuppa starter gets out of there that I'm going to be too tired. I'm already starting to get tired. And so I decided this is going to go into the refrigerator overnight, and then tomorrow I will process it. I will do the same thing that I did for the zuppa. We will fill it up, and then remember that chicken stock we talked about? I used it and then into the canner to process, and that was it. And that is how easy it was to make starters for our 2 favorite soups. Now don't go away yet. I'm going to show you how you can take it from can to table. Okay, so we have made our soup. We have canned it up. But now you need to know what's the rest of the story, right? Like, how do you serve your soup? So tonight I'm going to show you the Zuppa Toscana. All I'm going to do is let me zoom you in and show you. Let me just show you. So all I do is turn on the stove, open my jar, dump in the ingredients. Well, that's pretty simple, right? Yeah, it is. I don't want to let any of these good bits go to waste. So we'll go ahead and scrape those out of there. Oh, and because my husband likes added spice, I did go ahead and add some dried crushed red pepper to this. And then what I've got here is whole cow's milk. It's probably equal to about half and half. And I'm going to say maybe a half a cup of that. And then we just warm it up. That's it. So all you have to do for the chicken gnocchi is the same exact thing we did here, except you'll go ahead and once it starts to warm up and boil, you'll throw in some gnocchi. Whether you make it yourself, I do have video, or you buy it from the store. I do that too. You'll let that boil. You'll let those cook. It'll thicken it up just a little bit, and you've got a ready meal fast, and it didn't cost you hardly anything, and it's going to taste amazing. Both soups, once they're heated up, serve with some fresh Parmesan, maybe some breadsticks, salad on the side, and it's like Olive Garden at home.